Oh, there you go.
I say that. Well, let's cheers to this.
All right. Cheers.
Perfect.
What am I? Episode 13?
Maybe.
I think I'm the
12.
first like request or like
One of the first
follower.
requests.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you watch.
I do every week.
I love hearing
Or every
that.
other week, just
feel like-
just like hearing what's going on or what other people's opinions are in the mortgage and
What's
world
new.
and what's going on.
Yeah.
Right? So
Absolutely.
yeah, I think you got a great little thing going on here.
Thank you. I really feel very, I don't know, kind of geek about it. Oh, do you have a hole in your lip?
I've always had a hole in my lip.
Do you like, though?
It goes down really fast.
Oh, yes.
A lot of times. Yeah.
Yes, it does. I'm sorry.
It's good.
I feel very, just so, giddy when people are like, oh, yeah, I watched the thing. And I'm like, you do?
Yeah.
Feedback. I need feedback, and I love feedback.
Yeah, I think that's just
But
what we are as humans, right?
yeah.
We don't learn, we don't grow unless someone's giving us input of some sort,
Exactly.
right? Like, if nobody's giving us input, then we're like, what do I need?
What do I need to do?
Or
Yeah.
nobody
It's that
cares about me,
inevitable.
right? It's just that constant. Everybody
Yes.
needs some sort of feedback, whether it be positive criticism, negative criticism, right?
Yes. I love anything. I don't care. I want to strive to be better. And if it's bad words that are coming out from their review of how they see it, then it's like, well, let me see if I can adjust to anything.
Absolutely, yeah. Yeah.
Well, Matt Sanchez.
Hi.
Hi. Welcome.
Thank you.
I didn't introduce. I was like, did I introduce your name at the beginning?
it's
I
okay.
didn't.
We're 5 minutes deep.
It's fine.
It's all right.
I've already taken a good sip.
We need another one, maybe not.
Maybe. Well, here. One more.
We'll get going there.
You are with Ace Insurance.
I am Ace Insurance. Yes.
Yeah. I guess that is. Are you the only one?
I am. We have another agent that is appointed to the agency, but she's not really active doing anything.
Sure.
It's kind of a mutual, hey, you already had your license. Here's an opportunity. If you choose to sell some, you can. In her other insurance gig, it's just been crazy and chaotic. She has got a policy taken care of, and that one was a fun nightmare. There was the fire up in Elk, Washington going on earlier this year, and
no.
we went to go issue it, and there was a bind restriction due to fire on it. So we waited about a month until we were able to issue it. So that was a fun learning curve, for that individual of we're stuck. What
policy.
I do, yeah. So I just had to teach her hey, what we do is we put a binder out there that says, hey, this policy's in force, and this is the company on the policy. Uh-huh. So, there was a little bit of difference in there, but it worked out good.
Good.
So it did.
Took a while.
It took a while.
Yeah.
It took a lot of contact back and forth too. So.
I'm sure that stuff. Takes. What's the longest maybe an insurance claim or something can go for?
Oh man, I have a client. It's a personal relationship client too. We're over a year on their claim and still hasn't been.
Nothing.
Well, it's been paid.
Oh.
And work has been completed in a lot of aspects, but there's a lot of things that just haven't been completed.
Oh.
And unfortunately, we're having issues getting. It was a catastrophic loss. So
a
cat
fire?
Loss. It was a hailstorm loss. So it destroyed a whole city. The hailstorm came through. It was almost like a tornado loss, but it wasn't a tornado. It was a hailstorm, windstorm. And it came through and just put holes in the side of their house, put holes in their roof. It was almost like a machine gun went through their house, and their vehicles were completely totaled. And it's just a matter of them trying to rebuild and contractors being available, because everybody, especially if you have an isolated area, you have traveling contractors that come through and follow with the insurance claims and things like that, and they come in and do all the work. But then, a lot of times clients want to work with a contractor that they know.
Sure.
And so that
it's a third party.
It can take a lot of communication back and forth and doing it, and being a CAT claim. It makes it a little bit different too, because it's not just a regular claim.
Yeah.
It's a catastrophic loss, so that goes under federal dollars. So the company uses federal dollars in order to reimburse some of that.
Oh.
So there's There's a lot to that.
Just that itself.
Yeah.
Wow. But, having a claim go that long.
Yeah. Well, and indemnification is the word that anybody wants to think about when it comes to insurance, right? You're being indemnified for what has happened to you, right? You try to make yourself whole back to what you were pre-loss, right? So a lot of people look like, oh, I get something new. No, that doesn't mean you get something new. That means you get value for what you had or what the value of it was at that time. And there's ways we can mitigate that or stop that gap with like extra replacement cost and making sure that people's homes are up to date in replacement cost, and that there's actual vinyl siding on the side of the house, or it's wood siding, right? How many years ago was the roof replaced? Like, that's super important. That's a huge thing right now.
Evidence of like stuff you've maybe bought or like
you want to have evidence of it, right? Because
it's proof.
Well, it's proof, and I know from. Not that I've had that experience, but others that I've spoken to that are in the insurance world that have had huge losses themselves. Nobody wants to be sitting up 3 days later, a week later, a month later going, oh, how much was this worth? When did I buy it? So in a previous guest you had, I loved his idea. Like, you just go around and take photos. Take photos. Have a storage collection of what you got going on. I mean, fire safes are great, but they don't always protect everything.
Like at a certain degree, right?
Yeah.
Can it even melt through that?
And I was telling you before we started, I came back from vacation. I was just in Paradise, California.
Oh, yeah.
My good friend lives down there, and he was there when the fire happened in 2019.
Oh,
so
no.
I'm kind of fortunate in the world of knowing a little bit about those cat losses and things that happen just from what they've experienced and some of his friends and stuff have experienced.
He personally experienced?
Theirs was the only house on the block that did not burn.
No.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Every house around them was burned. And when we went and visited them the first time, it was crazy disaster to see. And like the fence was just melted. Like the fence was just still there melted. Like the heat was that bad.
How close it got.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like I said, theirs was just one that didn't.
Oh, that gives me like the chills.
But then, I visited while we were there and happened to have a relationship with one of his close friends, and they lost their home. And their home was an older, like 1950s home, and they lost it in the fire. And we were talking about how it was set up and how the code changed and how they had to move it. And in insurance, that's called ordinance and law. So, like, you want to make sure you have enough coverage for that, because that'll help move the foundation so you're legally able to rebuild your home with construction permits and stuff of that nature. But they have a very, very nice house from the loss, and they got indemnified and taken care of. But you lose memories. And, and everything you built, it's...
The little things.
We've Ace has been fortunate. We haven't had a huge loss yet.
Good.
But, it's just, it'll happen.
Is it a nationwide company, Ace?
No, just local. Just LLC. Local. I'm a broker. So pretty much what that means is I represent multiple different insurance companies that are nationwide companies, like Travelers Insurance. I have a great company called Main Street Insurance. Nationwide Insurance, Progressive, Foremost. I have a plethora of stuff.
More avenues.
I have
to
a lot
choose
more
from.
avenues, right? Which is why I think working with a broker is better, because every 2 or 3 years, if your policy jumps, several $1,000s, you still have the same faces and the same names that you've been working with. They just represent a different company that is still giving you the same quality service. So,
and how long has it been running now?
Ace is going to be on our year in December.
That's
End
so
of December.
Exciting.
December 16th.
That's so cool.
First day I sat down and bound my first policy is Ace Insurance.
That's cool.
It's crazy.
How it's led you to this. And I know we've talked before about your journey, but why don't you maybe give us kind of a brief of how you got into the business?
I still don't know how I got into insurance, and any insurance agent you sit down goes with,
they're like, this was not my lifelong dream.
Not my lifelong dream. 10 and a half years public service of working for the state, and in a law enforcement capacity, and then I was looking for an opportunity to be home with my wife and kid and have weekends off and not be on call at 3 a.m. in the morning anymore, and started looking for jobs, and this insurance position opened up at a different company, and they were super awesome and nurtured me and mentored me, and I just got to a point where I was like, I don't want to work for somebody else. I want to do this on my own. And
you figured it
I
out.
built a lot of relationships with my clients, and I kind of lost that piece with giving it off to somebody else to service it. Insurance is an intimate thing, or it can be a very intimate thing.
Absolutely.
I mean, you're talking about, certain claims. Hey, I got injured, or hey, so-and-so's going through this right now, or, even on the other side as a broker, right? I have high risk auto carriers. So, hey, I got in trouble with the law and I made a mistake, and now can you help me with that? Yeah, I can help you with that, but no judgment here. Like literally this is just me making sure you're taken care of and you're meeting what's required by the state or by the judge for you to be able to drive down the road and be legal.
Yeah.
So,
you're just trying to find avenues, like what's best going to fit them in that situation.
I think it's just about taking care of people. That's
Exactly.
all I've ever cared about, or what my whole life has been, is taking care of people in some way, shape, or form. Just
it's your
nurturer.
nature.
Yeah. Even though I don't know if nurturing always hits exact right. So
giant teddy bear.
the big guys always are, right? But my spirit animal's a rhino. So my grandma's maiden name was Rhino, so I'm a rhino. So I just charge through stuff, right? Like breaking glass here, and then clumsy, and then we figure it out from there, Jenny. We just go from there.
You know what? You gotta find your steps. You are a gentle rhino, then maybe.
I don't know. Previous life, other people might disagree with you.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Well, that's with my realm of industry in the lending world. And, a lot of the times in different situations, either people are just, don't want to feel judged, or it does feel very intimate. You get to know a lot about them, their, especially their social security number. You start pulling things, and we were talking about that earlier, and we will find out eventually of things, and people are like, no, I'm okay. Or they try to sneak by, and it's like, well, we will find out. We don't judge, ever.
Oh.
We try to find what's best.
Just trying to get you taken care of and what you're asking for, and providing the best service that we can. And that's all you can do. I mean, I tell people all the time, I may not be the agent for you.
Right.
I honestly may not be the agent for you. I'll see if there's a good policy.
Mm-hmm.
Right policy for you might be talking about liability and where you are in your professional life and what you have going on. And that might be, hey, it's time to not have state minimum coverage anymore. Let's bump you up. Let's get you at the higher thing. And can we do that at the same price that you're currently paying, and that makes sense for you? Or, hey, I'm in this, I understand what you've explained to me, liability. Yeah, I'm good. I understand that it's going to cost me $800 more a year, but I'm also good because you just explained to me all this coverage. I just had a client that we went through that this week.
Really?
In conversation, a professional that needs to have some liability gap, has been super low for a long time, and has some risks that exist. Teenage kids.
Layers of risk.
Yeah, layers of risks that occur, right? And so it's like, hey, we can mitigate that by giving you a little more gap coverage, right?
Yeah.
So, and I try to do the same thing. Try to do some social media and some education, but I'm horrible at it.
Yes, it's a learning curve. I also do wedding makeup, and I'm so bad about posting on my one page for it. And it's not because I just, finding the time and all that, happens. But whenever I do, I just get bombarded by people. And it's like, well, with my realm of that area, I only can, claim one date. And I tell people so many times no. But when you do post and you're like consistent and stuff, it's like, oh my gosh, this realm of people just asking questions, or can I find out more information and do all this? It's like, oh my gosh, I feel like you have to tackle, I don't know. I feel like I feel so bad leaving things unread or unnoticed.
Yeah.
But that's how, the tech thing, I'm still getting better, but posting and stuff, I feel like then it's like,
I don't find the time during the day. I'm like, I have moments of clarity where I'm like, oh, I need to make a post, or I need to do that. And then it's like, can I just have somebody else do that?
Sure. Yeah,
In my previous life, I'm really good at delegating. Like, hey, you need to take care of this. You need to take care of that. Like, really good at telling others what they need to do, versus, hey, Matt, this is something that you should be responsible for.
Sure.
So,
and you do all your own in terms of the And website.
Our website needs some work.
Okay.
So
I know a guy.
It's expenditure that when you're a solo operator is like,
Yeah.
We have a website. We did one of those Google websites.
Yeah. Okay.
And it works. I mean, you can get a quote on there. You can submit your information and request a quote from me. Comes through just perfectly fine. Comes through as a Google business ad and gives me all the contact info that I need to do. I'm pretty tech savvy when it comes to. I like to use that Staples Easy button. That was easy. And I use a thing called Canopy Connect for that. And I showed you that.
Yes, you did. It was very slick.
It is very nice. In fact, I had a gentleman before I came down to this, and I was like, hey, I'm sending you a text. We're on the phone for 30 seconds.
Yeah.
And I already had all of his deck information and the ability to just get him a quote and do all that stuff.
No problem.
So it can literally turn shopping from, insurance from a half-hour ordeal to
right. And linking
quick,
other people,
easy experience.
Linking other people to it, and
cool. Like for mortgage brokers and referral partners, and people that work at car dealerships and stuff like that. If it's something that they wanted to use, you put your face on it, right? And it's like it's you doing it, and it's just getting handed off to an insurance guy on the backside that is going to call and build a relationship with you anyways, but
that's cool.
That's what it is. So, on Facebook, I always make the joke, insurance isn't sexy. So better talk to a bearded guy or a guy that drinks beer and things of that nature. Right there?
Mm-hmm. Humbling.
There.
Well, and, like the studio, and Duro, does all that. He can do websites. He's the media guy. Mm-hmm. So I always, get all my questions or things that I need for him, or compliance stuff with my other job, and doing some posting things.
Right.
Because with mine, it's very compliant. I have to follow stuff to a T. And with yours, are you able to promote other products from companies, or is it just?
Well, I mean, I'm a broker, so I'm a contracted employee of each of those companies, right? So there's, I'll use Travelers for example.
Okay.
Travelers has access to my Facebook, and Travelers will literally post a new slideshow like every week.
Oh, cool.
On a travel, I don't have to worry about that. They just automatically
do it.
Have a toolkit that's set up for that. Other companies that exists too, you have to kind of go more manually, physically pull it in, and advertise for that on those companies.
And they want their marketing stuff.
It's their branding. It's their marketing.
It's all their stuff.
But you're a contracted broker. You're a licensed agent for them under their title. And so it's like, of course. I mean, there's certain things that you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. So
let's talk then into the licensing. What's the difference, I guess, from being a broker to working with a...
the only difference between a broker and a captive agent, such as Allstate or State Farm or Farmers.
Yeah,
right?
Yeah.
Those folks are the same thing. They just have contracts with those companies, but those companies say, hey, you can only write business with us.
Got it.
That's it. You can only write business with Allstate. You can only write business with State Farm, and you can only write business with Farmers. And there's several other captives out there. Versus being a broker or an independent agent. So we're trying to make everybody happy.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I don't have to make just one company happy by the amount of policies that exist. I have 14, 15 companies that I have to, market, or I have to, have a relationship with, and at the same time, having all those markets, right? I kind of refer it back to kind of a Wyatt Earp or a law enforcement phrase, right? I don't want to be Barney Fife and only have one bullet in my pocket, right? I want to be able to help people in
any situation
and do anything that needs to be done.
Absolutely.
Exactly. Yeah.
License-wise, though, Idaho and Washington?
Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and Montana.
You got the whole round.
I did the four northern
corners.
states.
Yeah.
I have policies in Washington, Oregon, and Idaho. I have not had a Montana person.
yet?
Yeah, nope. Just hasn't happened.
Pretty quiet over there.
That's pretty quiet.
Must be.
We're also pretty regionalized right
True.
now. Very, circles here. But the circles touched all the way out to Seattle. I, had referrals from over in the Seattle area.
Great.
Referrals, local folks move into the middle of Oregon somewhere,
Yes.
and nobody else can take care of it. I didn't want to become the mobile home manufactured guy. It happened.
I'm sure.
Right?
I'm sure.
So, I have some referral partners that
kind of from all over, though.
Just only send me mobile home quotes.
Oh, really?
Or right, they like, hey, someone's buying a mobile home, call Matt. 5 minutes, done. Yeah.
Here it is.
Yeah. And I always make that joke, like, okay, call me with a mobile home quote, it'll be done in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Like, it's the easiest, quickest quotes that there are.
That you're given.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Do you get to travel to any of these companies that you promote and do all that, or?
No, usually it's the opposite.
Oh.
Usually the companies come to me.
They come here.
Right. So
Nice.
like the territory reps will come around.
Sure.
Once every other month, every 3 months. Hey, how's business? Is there anything we can do for you? Are you having any issues with stuff? Excuse me. You have to edit that one out, Daryl. I have really good relationships with all my territory managers.
That's great.
They're all gunning for me. They're all pulling for me. Fortunately, some of them I had relationships with from before, so they were like, we know who you are. We know what your quality is. And I don't write the cheapest, lowest policy. I believe in cheap insurance, but I believe in insurance that is going to cover you, that's right for you. And so it's always an education with me, like, okay, how much coverage do you have? Let's make sure it's right. And so my territories reps really respect that, because I don't just put anything on the books. I put stuff that's going to take care of the customer and make sure it stays there.
Sure.
So, yeah.
Is there any coverage of things you can't do?
Yeah, health, medical.
None of that.
I don't do any health, medical, or life. I don't do any life insurance currently.
Yeah.
I need to go down that road, but I just...
Is it a difficult route to endure?
Studying. It's a lot of studying, a lot of hours.
Is it an extra? Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I'm property and casualty licensed, which means I can do auto and home and
right.
Most of that stuff. In small business, I do some commercial business, smaller commercial. I have some opportunity for bigger business. Great thing happened to us last month. We got an appointment for farm, so we can do farm insurance now.
Cool.
And I already closed my first farm policy.
You did?
Yeah.
Very
so we got
cool.
farm insurance because of that policy. Luckily,
Nice.
it was like, hey,
looking into this.
we got to do this.
Yeah.
There's not going to go anywhere else unless we have.
Specific.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool. You kind of follow those avenues, and like you said, you follow and do what's best for the client.
Absolutely.
Not the cheapest, but
cheapest as possible.
Yeah.
Right. But you understanding what your coverage is at the same time.
Yes.
So I try to avoid state minimum coverage. Like, I don't write state minimum coverage. I don't think that it protects you. I don't think it protects anyone. I think that it's something that needs to be reevaluated in our current economy and what's happening. Right.
Sure.
And the cost to repair a car, the cost to repair someone when their medical damage has occurred is not what it was 15 years ago.
No, everything.
Right? You get injured and end up in the hospital. It's not a cheap bill. It's an $80,000, $100,000 bill nowadays. Medical insurance covers some of that, but it depends on who's liable, right? And so it all comes back to liability and who covers it, right? And so I had that personal experience with a personal accident with my dad. My dad got T-boned on his motorcycle. And
you're telling me about that.
was one of the things that kind of interested me in insurance. And like getting to it, because I remember at one point my dad's still in recovery and laid up in his house, and he gets a medical bill for $80,000. It's like, who's paying for that?
Yeah.
I'm going to lose my house.
I know.
Who pays for that?
Right?
I mean, so you mitigate that by making sure you have the right uninsured motorist coverage, and, you know, medical can kick in, then personal medical will kick in. So
that layer of risk, you know, we talk about that in my realm, like credit score, and, you know, if you're delinquent in any federal debt, or, you know, any of those things, you know, there's that layer of risk, and we see your history, and if we're giving you a home loan, your layer of risk, if it's a certain, you know, length or percentage, then they're like, do we move forward? Do you try to educate, you know, that layer of risk with your clients?
Always. Every conversation, every policy, you can look at my Google reviews, or you can talk to the clients that I work with, and Matt doesn't let you just like do a policy. Like it's a long conversation. I'm getting to the point where it's like, hey, I want an appointment in the office. I don't want to just talk to you on the phone. I get that phone conversations or in-person conversations aren't always easy or obtainable, right? People have busy lives. People work.
Oh, yeah.
People have kids. People have events to go to. Insurance isn't sexy, right? Until it is.
Until it's
right, and then
absolutely.
You know, you just kind of get to that point. So
being straightforward, but knowing how you communicate with people, and I'm sure you give them the straightforwardness. You're doing it in a way that's educational for them, not making them feel, you know, embarrassed by.
Well, I don't want them to feel like it's a transactional thing, right?
Right.
We've gone so far past what relationships were in business and understanding what you have to. I'm not bashing any companies, but everybody has click to buy now. Click to buy. I'm just going to go on. I'm going to click to buy.
Oh yeah.
Okay, yeah, I can click to buy a policy, but what is my policy? What
do you know? Yeah.
Hey, my windshield's shattered. Yeah, your deductible's $1,000. You're gonna have to pay $1,000 for a new windshield, or pay the glass shop what the windshield's worth.
Fine print.
Versus having the conversation of, hey, we can have a deductible on your comp of $500 and a $0 glass coverage, or a $50 glass coverage, and all you're responsible for is $50 of that, right? Full coverage is the worst thing to ever be talked about in insurance or brought forward. I have full coverage. Okay, you have full coverage. What does that mean?
Right.
I have state minimum liability and $1,000 deductibles. Cool. That's awesome. I'm happy to talk about that, but when you get in that accident and someone gets injured and hurt,
that's not anymore.
Where's that other $75,000 going to come from? Or, hey, your car's worth $5,000 and you have a $1,000 deductible. You got to remember the insurance company's going to keep $1,000 of that, and you're only going to get $4,000 back, right? So that's what your deductible is. You're responsible for that risk. You're responsible for the transference of that risk.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we need to get out of that conversation of full coverage, and we need to have a conversation of, I have this much liability, and my deductible is this. This is how much I'm responsible for should an accident occur, whether it's my fault or a deer's fault or whatever have you.
Right.
So there's just that, I think you just get to that next level of conversation and building a relationship, and that's really what I want to build ACE to, is that small town advisor that you can sit down with, or you can call, and it's your neighbor, is your friend, and you can talk to. Like, I have folks like that all the time that call me, hey, you know, they just want to talk to me. Or, you know, you built a good enough relationship that they just want to call and talk for a second.
Sure.
Great. Or, you know, hey, I see you in public. Hey, your grandkid is running with my daughter, right? Or your daughter and my daughter are in the same school together, or whatever else, right? You know who that person is, and you know that it's a relationship that you can build, right?
Yes.
So
I love that. And that's how I kind of want that to be built in a greater aspect. And you're absolutely from a small town originally. So Lewiston's the big city.
Lewiston is the big city, right? I think I don't know, I think about 15 of us landed here in Lewiston. Right. Out of the same class. So I'm pretty sure all of us still live here.
Hilarious.
So, I mean,
you're used to that though, in the small town feel. And
yeah. Well, in the previous life too, right? It was small town. And it was dealing with knowing Bob's your uncle and Jim is your cousin, and
communication is huge in law enforcement. Besides that, do you feel like you bring anything extra to the table, or what makes you different?
I don't know. I'm just me.
You're a rhino.
I'm rhino charging forward, crashing through things. If you don't like me, you don't like me. If you love me, great, I'm here. You know. But that's just kind of been my mentality. I just got to a certain point of maturity and age that I'm just who I am. I'm a kick in the pants if you hang out with me, and
there's only so many molds that you can fit in.
But, yeah.
It's like, why even try to fit in someone else's mold when you can be your own?
Well, I think there's certain molds, and I think there's molds that you fall into, and then molds you don't fall into, right? I think that the old verbiage is you put a rotten apple in a bushel of apples, then the rest of the apples are going to become rotten. So if I don't want to be a rotten apple, I'm going to associate myself with other ripe apples and shine however I shine and do however I do. So I think it all just comes down to relationships and who you associate yourself with, right?
Absolutely.
It's one of the reasons why I loved being a part of the chamber. Had no idea what Chamber of Commerce was or what the purpose of it was.
Did you do the class?
I have not done the class.
I've wanted to. So in time. Gotta stretch it.
Recently was told by someone on that one, "Oh, your company pays for that." And my response was, "I am my company.
I am me.
I can't afford a $1,000 class.
There's no way.
I just can't. It does not book out equitably for me to spend $1,000 for that. Have a leadership title.
Yeah.
When I've already created my own leadership in my own.
That's so true.
Aspect of things that I experience. So.
I know. With this. You wanting to come on here, that is just a goal-setting thing I've wanted this whole
It did exactly what you wanted to do, right?
It did. Quicker.
First episode that you had, and I reached out to you.
We had a meeting, and I was like, I'm going to be doing one of those. And you were like, no way.
Yeah.
It just fills my cup. I've been saying, it just fills my heart to where I wanted this to be.
You got your full circle within 12, 13 episodes.
Well, I didn't even think this was going to happen this soon.
Yeah.
Which is amazing. And I appreciate it so much. And I just, having that relationship, even though we've never really worked together before.
No, we've, you got a couple referrals.
Yeah.
In a way of, hey, this person's looking for some homeowners
or hey,
whatever
look
else.
for some insurance avenues. Yeah. Exactly.
So, it's, again, small town relationship, the hand that washes one hand washes the other.
But I want this to feel more of like let's just get to know each other and our industries and talk about it, and just it's more of an informational thing even for everybody else.
Well, absolutely. And everybody you're talking to, everybody has different opinions.
Yes.
One way I write insurance may not be the same as another agent writes insurance. And another insurance person might look at this podcast and be like, just give the client what they want, Matt. It's like
that's deeper than that.
That's where we're different.
Yeah.
That's where we're different. That's where maybe you have their business relationship because of that versus I don't get the business relationship because I'm not willing to do that, or I don't view it that way.
That's me.
So
I know. I there's times where I'll sit at a podcast and I'm kind of like, I kind of think I know where this is gonna go or general realm, but I swear it's like I want it to feel so natural. I don't want it to feel, like I'm just looking and asking question after question like an interrogation. I want it to flow with the conversation. So times where I'm talking to people and I'm like, oh yeah, this is going to go into the more informational thing, or I've had one podcast where it's been way more of an emotional journey.
Yeah.
So it's a cool way to see how people think even in this process, and how the way that they portray how they want to take care of someone, and it's strong. People hold on to that kind of stuff or can click with that kind of feeling way easier, than just a Facebook ad that's like,
hi,
click on this to,
call for insurance.
Yeah.
There's 1,000.
Anybody can do that.
I can sit on my home and sit and watch Hulu.
Yes.
And watch football on a Sunday afternoon and watch 50 insurance commercials.
Exactly.
And being in insurance, it's the most annoying thing because you're just like, yep. Cool.
My best friend dressed up her dog his name is Jake. Mm-hmm. Jake from State Farm.
Yeah.
And, he was a Halloween costume. Yeah. It's like,
I want to do
Matt,
Limu Emu. I want to do Limu Emu. Like, I told the wife she could be Doug and I would be Limu.
That's cute.
But yeah, no.
So funny. I love that.
Or, I'm maybe getting, only 35, but maybe I'm getting more to like the doc on Progressive that's talking about social, don't post that.
Right.
Like, don't talk about that. That's libel slander.
I thought that
you can get sued for that.
Pretty funny. And they're just like oblivious.
Just don't say nothing on Facebook.
It's fine.
Keep your mouths to yourself. You're allowed to have an opinion. It's America. I am 100%
all for it.
Constitutional, but sometimes you just gotta learn to keep your mouth shut.
Certain things, absolutely. Yeah. Oh yeah.
There's times I want to say things and you bite my tongue.
Right.
But so.
I'm a goofy girl, and I do game night, oh man, I feel somewhat embarrassed for half the stuff that I say down there, but I'll just it's reminding me of this when I do bingo. When I do the O's, I have to try not. I go O, like a Minnesota. Mm-hmm. I do, and so then I swear people come up afterward and they're like, "What part of Minnesota are you from?" And I'm like, "I just mimic and have perfected this."
Yeah,
they're gonna reach out maybe to buy a home. And they're gonna be like, "Oh yeah, she's from." No, I'm not.
I can iterate to that in every way, shape, or form. I did drama all the way through high school, growing up, and anybody who knows me knows that I can be a little theatrical,
right?
Or I can just be really calm. It just really depends. But I can be really theatrical and really lay it on thick, and I can do all kinds of different accents. I wish I'd been like Jim Carrey or Robin Williams or some of those really great funny guys,
But being a professional, like I want to show, like, oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
you're
pretty laid back as a normal person.
I am me.
Don't you know? Yeah. And that's when I start. Yeah. No, don't do that, Jenny. Well, let's backtrack. Well, just a tiny bit.
Find a question, Jenny.
I'm going to find one. Oh, I've had it. When someone has never bought a house before, they've been renting, they reach out to me, they have a realtor, all this stuff, and we ask them to reach out for insurance. Yep. What do you suggest that they do?
I have my own personal opinions in this world.
Listen.
Right? Yes. And I have certain ways that it works for others and others that it works the way that they work for it. And I understand that there's certain companies that just have we need to send 3 referrals, right? So that's going out to 3 different agents.
Right.
And I think when you're in the mortgage world, you need to have a captive agent that you work with that is good, but you need to understand what's going on in the captive world with rates. Their rates are through the roof because some of the biggest, and they're taking some.
And they're changed as much as we
all
do.
The insurance companies are taking so much risk with weather and fire and everything else, and people don't understand inflation is the cost of diesel to ship your tires, to ship the metal, to haul the gas, to do everything that you need to do, and then that gets absorbed by the cost to repair a vehicle after an accident. And then let's talk about the folks that file claims because they just want to file a claim because they have insurance versus being financially stable to take care of those little things for themselves. So, I think you have a captive agent. I think you have a broker that you work with. And, I don't know who the third one is, honestly. Maybe another captive, right? A second captive.
Sure.
Or another broker that has different things outside. Because when you end up with a broker, you're already ending up with someone who has 12 different companies that's shopping every single one of those policies. So my firm belief is you refer to the broker first, right? Being a broker. That's why I became a broker. I didn't go captive because I didn't want to just have one product. I wanted, again, to have ability to help everybody in every aspect that I can.
Everybody's different.
So, when you have a referral partner, I think that's where you go to. I think you also build a relationship with that person, right? I have referral partners that have been with me since day one, and it's because I showed them what I'm capable of. We were talking about folks you work with that have referred stuff to me.
Yes.
And it's one done in over in a half hour.
Yes.
Taken care of. You don't have to worry about it. You don't have to ask any more questions. Closing's ready to go.
Yep.
No more questions.
But then there's others where it's like,
3 weeks later,
I could give you, something better, because it can affect your house payment.
Yeah, absolutely.
And that's, we talked about earlier.
Credit has everything to do with it.
Yes.
Loss history has everything to do with it.
Yes.
It doesn't work for you. It doesn't work for you.
Mm-hmm.
But
on our end, we are, we can't sway.
No, you can't.
We
No.
can't. We have to give them these options.
Again, I have different opinions on that. Like, I think that there's, if you're going to refer someone or you're going to have a referral partner, you have all the options. You give them all the options. I'd start here. Mm-hmm. And then if that doesn't work for you, then go here.
For how many avenues, like you said, you have at your disposal?
And there's other brokers in the Valley that are great brokers that have way more avenues than I do, right?
Sure.
They've been in business for 100 years.
Yeah.
Right? I've been in business for barely a year. They've been in business for 100 years.
Yeah.
And they have great people too. It really comes down to just who do you want to talk to and how kind of relationship do you want to build?
Sure.
So,
yeah. Love that.
And any agent that works for me is going to have the same mentality.
Right.
It's just, my way or the highway.
Yeah.
Like,
Let's do a more informational thing, in case anybody doesn't know.
Yeah.
When I request an insurance binder, what is that?
Yeah.
What is it that you write up?
So an insurance binder is fun. I remember my first insurance binder. I was nervous. I called my manager at the time about 4 different times and asking him to review it and say, is this right?
Is this okay?
And then this last week I had one that's like, I'm on the road driving 16 hours and I can't take care of it. The mortgage officer's like, hey, we're going to close. We got to do this. And I'm like, I can't get to it. And so it's like, let me pull over. And 15 minutes later, here it is. A binder is literally just saying that you're purchasing the contract at the limits in which the quote is. So we do a quote, and it's got the house dwelling limits, let's say $350,000, right?
Yep.
$300,000 liability.
Pretty average.
Very average. Yep. And all it is saying, hey, this insurance policy is going to be effective on this date under this company at this price. That's all it's saying. And for me, versus others, I don't issue that binder or I don't issue that policy until the day the client actually purchases the home.
Exactly.
Because I can't tell you how many times that you think it's going to close on the 31st and it's closing on the 17th of next month now because something happened.
Oh, yeah. Well, a good example.
Especially in your world, right?
Yes. A great example was when we had this spring, all that rain, and we had flooding. And how many realtors that had their houses, listed, they were going in and checking the damage.
Yeah.
And it's like, I totally understand that when it comes to the timing. Again, being new to this industry, I did not know that this also wrapped around this whole thing.
And I'm the fun one, right? Because I'm a solo agent.
Oh, you were busy.
I'm sitting at the Chamber of Commerce activity going on that day, and it started pouring down rain, and I looked at everybody I was hanging out with. Everybody I was hanging out with, I looked at everybody and I said, I'm about to get a whole bunch of flood calls. And none of it's going to be covered because it's not a flood.
Oh, no.
It's water, rain.
What was it, an inch of rain? And
it was like an inch of rain. And we had like 3 calls for water flooding in basements, and it's like, it's not covered on your homeowner's insurance.
Yep.
You have to have a flood policy for that.
Yep.
I think I have one company that has inland flood marine, and they won't write a house that's older than 50 years.
No.
Yeah. So most of our homes in the valley are over that. Oh yeah.
Wow.
So and it's
it fell into the.
It falls into that conversation of like, hey,
know
first of
your
all,
stuff.
let's mitigate the siding on your house. Let's put some rain gutters up. Let's put some stuff off. And, personally, I have my dad's house here, and it flooded. right? So I had to go in and redo all the drywall. And it's torn apart right now, being worked on.
Oh, dang.
And so we had just spent $3,000 to put drywall up in that house, and it was sitting the way it was sitting. I had to go back in and tear the drywall out and put it back in. So, because it's not covered.
No.
It's not.
Oh, I remember I was at home when all this was happening in my basement, flooded.
Mm-hmm.
Very old concrete, it was just seeping in, sweating in.
Mm-hmm.
And we took our shop vacs, and luckily my house is pretty uneven to where
you were home. You were able to catch it.
I was home. I was my poor husband. I was like,
I
home.
had clients that were gone that weekend. It called me on Monday or Tuesday and said, "Hey, I got home," and it's not covered.
That I felt so. We luckily again we're uneven.
Yeah.
We pushed all our stuff in the dry spot, cleaned it up, and I noticed like our neighbors were walking over, and our storm drain in our street, it kind of goes in a down, and it was plugged.
Yep, sticks, leaves, that's all it takes.
Oh, and it flooded into our neighbor's house. Yeah. Oh, and so we brought our shop vacs over. They brought beer. We were all trying to help our neighbor.
And, for the longest time until I got into insurance, I said this. I had this belief. We live in a non-floodplain. We do. We do in certain parts, but water, rain, runoff.
Yeah.
We have good torrential rains here. We have good torrential rains here at least once a year.
Yes.
And so you don't have to buy a $250,000 flood policy. You could buy it enough to cover your basement flood policy. Yeah, but it's an easy way to mitigate that.
Right.
And being a broker, I have 4 flood companies.
That you can totally.
I have 4 flood companies.
Wow.
Like, how often do I actually write a flood policy?
Right.
Only if it's mortgage required, because it's on an actual.
If it's on what's the percentage
a floodplain?
Yes,
right?
yeah,
like an AE or
AB.
There's a whole bunch of different.
Yes, there's a bunch of different ones. But I know, and my poor neighbors. I think she was on the phone with her lawyer at one point, just like, listen, I don't know what to do, and it was just gravity did its thing, and thank goodness we had our one other neighbor bring in their shop vac, and we helped them out, and it's kind of like a little street party, but still it was like,
well, and in your world, in the mortgage closing world, in the realtor's world, that's where an inspection comes in. Great, like the pre-purchase inspection. How's the foundation on this place?
Oh yeah,
like, is it a 1910 foundation? Was it cold poured on top of each other where it's leaked over many years?
When we bought our house, I've known since we've bought it that the concrete just sweats, and it just, there are little tiny little holes it'll just peek through. Yep. And I've known, so if I know when it rains a certain amount and I'm gonna get water, it's like you'd think that'd be in the back of your head.
That's why you see housing's changed now. How many people do you see actually build a basement house?
Never
nowadays,
anymore.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So everything's ranch.
All the ones in the orchards, all that new stuff.
Everything's ranch. Everything's extended out. It's because the codes have changed. Yeah. Just folks have realized, hey, this doesn't work. Your houses with basements are great. They're cool. They're nice during the summer. They're warm during the winter.
I saw a realtor. It was Chelsea Blewett, who's been on here. She said that she was, running around with clients today doing showings, and she goes, "I love to do it in the rain because that way you can go in and check the things that are right there." That's great, and it's like that's actually so true. Yeah. So I mean, that's again knowing who to call to get that questions you have answered. You know, that's your avenue.
It's just honestly, there's a bunch of great independent agents in this valley. I know several of them.
Oh, me too. Yes,
good relationships with them. And it honestly just comes down to who you want to work with and what things do you have click in common, right? I have some guys that are military guys. I get along great with them, right? I have that experience or knowledge, right? Not that I was in the military, but I had family that was military, so friends that are in the military still and close. So I understand and speak their language a little bit, or folks that have a little bit of a law enforcement background, or folks that do this, right? Like it's all just relationship. People that are in the nursing field. My wife's in the nursing field. I kind of worn a lot of hats without wearing a lot of hats in my life.
Yeah.
So it's just interesting.
It is.
It's super fun. We live in such a eccentric little town that's just different than everywhere else.
Absolutely.
But then we also have things that are just outside of town that are fire score that nobody wants to talk about brush fire score and whether or not you can write a policy there or not.
Scary things.
Oh, Orfino. You can't even write a half of Orfino. You can't write a policy unless it's on a certain form for fire score, right? Because everything gets declined from brush score.
Yeah.
I had one on the backside of the Heights the other day.
You did?
Yep.
Oh, I'm sure.
Company declined. Company declined due to brush fire score. And I thought about why. And then I was like, oh, wait,
we had
a couple years ago?
Fires.
How close was that fire to the Heights?
Piola, right? Wasn't that Piola? Yeah, I remember that. Holy cow.
You know, just...
But it affects
everything.
That area.
And for a mortgage officer, we have fires on the insurance side. We can't bind it.
No.
We can't issue it.
Really?
Because the company's not willing to take the risk. Because of
risk.
Paradise and all these places.
What's the...
Look at Elk that just happened. I can't remember that cute little town that was just south of Spokane a couple years ago. Same thing. That fire came through, blew the whole town apart.
Oh. I know Spokane had that on the island, or what was that? Just this year, they had a fire.
Well, I know it was like the Oregon fire is what it was called, or Elk fire.
Yeah.
And so there was then those two, and they just have those, and those are, they happen. But what happens is temperatures and everything else comes through, and it just wipes out. And
but that risk.
People don't realize how many thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars, people have their homes insured at that wipes out. And for my penny and your penny that we put into the pot for insurance, right? That insurance company has to divide that like 5 different times. They have to pay the agent. They have to pay their people that work for the insurance company.
Going out there and
They have to pay for the rebuild and repair and recost of the home, of things that go out. With the price of everything. COVID was horrible, right? It was, everything went up. Everybody's house prices jumped up. That's why replacement costs are super important in that conversation. But then also having a conversation with the folk on replacement costs. Like, hey, you're paying $540,000 for your home, but your home's honestly only worth about $350,000.
Right.
So you're paying for some land. We can mitigate that by putting some extended dwelling coverage on top of there. But that's what your home, I can try to build it up as best as I can to get as close as I can, but that's where we are. Right? And you guys see that in mortgage.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Can we get more out of that?
Yeah.
No.
Or we put kind of our quote of like what we think, we always do the taxes. We can add on to that as the house payment of like what the expected taxes and insurance. But then it's like they'll get their real quote from actual insurance agents. And they're like, well, that's not what. And it's so... What's that fine line? This is just an estimate.
Yeah, I mean, you had that conversation, right? When we first met. And your system kicks out a $70 insurance quote.
Yes, it does.
How about 120?
Yeah.
120
real number.
That's the legit number. Oh, there's 5 companies saying that. Not 1, 5.
The average.
That's the average. Now, don't get me wrong.
Okay.
I had a $500,000 home up north that just went through $845. It's less than $75 a month.
Yeah.
That's great.
Person
probably had great credit.
Yep.
Person probably doesn't
risk.
have any loss history. Right? And that's also the person we talked about. Hey, people living in this lower liability. Let's mitigate that.
Yeah.
Let's change that up a little bit.
I want to ask maybe a question, what you think percentage-wise, people that have coverage on their houses and stuff like that, what's the percentage of them that know fully of what their policy is?
Oh, I'd love to do a survey on this.
Wouldn't that be just
eye-opening? Be amazing. I'd like to say 15%.
Wow, that's so small.
I'd say if we took a studio of 100 people, 15 of them would say, yeah, I know what my agent is. I know who my agent is, and I know what my coverages are.
Wow.
That's
a sad...
a strong guess.
Yeah, but that's a sad realization, and that's true.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
1 in 5 people are driving around without insurance.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
I know it bugs people. I know it's horrible. State of Idaho, I like State of Idaho because State of Idaho says, hey, you have to have insurance or we're going to cancel your registration.
You know what? It's going to turn into that. more. It's going to get more strict.
But with what's going on in the economy, people are ditching their insurance.
Yeah.
People are not willing
pinch
to pay
and pennies.
for it. They're pinching pennies. People are doing what they need to do. And now me and you and whoever else is carrying more of that risk, because if they hit us and injure us, who's paying for that? We're paying an amount of our policy, and this is where insurance gets super deep and like crazy, right?
Yes.
Who ends up paying for that? They go after the person for it, right?
Yeah.
But we all end up paying for it. That's why our rates are so high, because people are willing to take that risk and people aren't willing to be responsible.
Dang. I know one of my best friend's mom, she had like her dream car. Oh, I remember we were friends in high school and someone rear-ended her and totaled it.
Yeah.
And they didn't have insurance.
Yeah.
And then she was just having to drive her little Honda. I was like, oh, so sad. And it was like her dream car. And
it especially depends on the car. Depends
yeah.
on, did you have full coverage on it?
Yeah. Right.
No. How much comprehensive? Yep. Exactly.
Exactly. I like that. I love though that of how informative you are. I mean, to feel comfortable on giving it straight, telling them the truth, and like, this is what's gonna be best for you.
Yeah.
And, not just there for the paycheck. You know what I mean? Like, there's those people that just...
The paycheck is not... It's crazy.
It's not the drive.
Insurance is not a get-rich-quick scheme in any way, shape, or form. I am very blessed to have a very supportive wife that works her butt off.
Yes.
To support the dream of us having the independence that we have now and some of the things that we have going on.
The time now that you can be with your family too.
I'm stressing the whole time, right? I'm driving to California on Friday and
you came back on Sunday?
No, I came back on Tuesday.
That's right.
At 2 a.m. in the morning on Wednesday morning, and whole time I'm stressing, like, what do I need to get done? Like, so-and-so called 5 times. How do I get this done in this time? Because you can't do it while you're driving.
Right.
It just doesn't make sense.
Is there a goal for ACE to have growth?
Oh, absolutely. There's goals for us to grow, and whether that be one way or another, my goal is I'd love to have a small shop in every town. Little franchises, little agents that are able to have the same thing that I've done, start their own thing, have the support of technology and things. And there's lots of those that exist, franchise models, insurance agencies.
But a local face, somebody
in the community, somebody that's there. The kids are in school, they know who you are.
It's more.
That's all.
More.
Obviously, everybody's dream is to grow this huge company and do all
my
that
own
stuff.
CEO.
That's way more stress. I've got enough stress as it is. I don't need to worry about those big things or whatever else, or even the reality of the stress of managing. I think I'm just shy of 100 clients total.
Wow. Love.
Well, I'm very fortunate. Most of those come from referral partners.
Yes.
Or come from referrals in the Valley. I don't do a lot of marketing. I don't buy leads. There's folks that buy.
They do.
Just opportunity. I am very, very fortunate to be sitting where I am because of relationships and people just coming to me because of who I am, because of reviews that I have, right? Don't mean to ever be cocky, but you sit on Facebook. If you're a part of LC Valley Reviews here in the Valley, ask me how many times my name gets dropped in that review line.
Sure, I'm sure. Yeah. Oh yeah, and that's like a huge everyone's on that.
It's everybody's opinion.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
And I appreciate everybody on that 100%.
Right.
It's everybody's opinion, right? I may not be the right guy for you.
Right.
Do my best. I'll work my hardest.
You'll give it straight.
I'll give it straight.
Yeah.
Exactly. And I think that's what we're missing a little bit in our era.
Yes.
On our age.
I think
right?
I absolutely agree. Yeah.
Daryl probably like this one. Pull you up by your bootstraps, right? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Well, I want to congratulate you on almost hitting your year.
Thanks.
What's the best way to get a hold of you?
Oh, man, there's so many ways to get a hold of me, right? You got Facebook.
Your
You can
avenues.
call me, 208-748-6065. You can text me on the direct number, 208-743-6311.
The Google.
The Google. Yeah, the Google.
The Google.
The Google. Where would we be in this world if you couldn't ask Google for something?
I thought it was funny. I saw a video that was like, pizza delivery guys. They, back in the day, had a map. They had to know all those. And I'm like, yep, nope, GPS now. Click, click, click. I'm like, oh my gosh, those poor delivery drivers.
Some of the old school law enforcement guys will appreciate that, like, when you started in law enforcement, you had to drive every single block and know every single side street before you even stopped. Like, you'd stop in the middle of training, like, where are we?
Shoot.
Now they have GPS in their cars that take you right to the call.
Yep.
It's like, it's good.
It's good.
It's efficient.
But man, I don't know how we'd function if, we hadn't evolved, I just think back.
Well, it's just where we are in the world and what's going on, and
exactly
just what we got going on. Thanks for having me.
Yes, I absolutely.
Are we at our time?
I mean,
no, I think we're a little. Are we there, Dara? Are we short?
We're probably there.
We're probably close.
Why don't we cheers
cheers?
End this on a good note.